Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here with us today. Our topic is a little bit different than usual. We are not going to talk about products. We are going to talk about social media and how to use social media for your business. It's the first time we are doing a webinar with a non-products topic, and I hope you guys like it. So every time we talk about social media, it's natural feel scared about that because there are too many information, a lot of channels available, and it's not that easy know like where to start or exactly what to do or how to behave. I hope that today, after the end of this webinar, we can clarify a little bit the importance of social media and how to use and how to define a strategy. There are so many channels, so today I'm going to focus on the four biggest channels: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And yes, and by the end of my presentation, feel free to ask your questions. I'm going to give some room to chat with you a little bit about that. But before we talk about social media, it's necessary talking about brands. Doesn't matter how big is the company you work for. If it's like in my case, I work in a company with 400,000 employees, or if you are the only associate in your company, you must have a brand. Of course, you have a brand, and your brand matters. I used to say that brand is the most important product in every kind of organization. It's through your brand that you are going to create user loyalty. You are going to confirm your credibility, create emotional connections, and we are going to see very soon how important these emotional connections are. And of course, motivates the buyer to buy your product or your service. And basically, this is what we want in the end of the day, right? We want people buying what we have to sell. So every time when you think about your brand, please understand that it matters. Your brand is the only way to differentiate you from your competition, especially in an industry like ours, HVAC. Most of our products are commodity. The only way to differentiate yourself is through your brand. Remember that brands give offers to a face. Um, and let's call this face identity. And this identity is important to bring the differentiation you are looking for. Why it is important? Because during the consumer decision-making process, the purchase decision, if you consider it in different steps, let me show you here. It's very theoretical, but it's important. If you spread it into steps, divide into steps, sorry, the purchase decision is one of the last of them. So look, we have the purchase here in the end of the process. Before, there are so many communication involved. And the brand is important to provide this communication. Your consumer or your customer, they want to know who you are. And if you read into details all of these steps, you are going to see that the decision making goes either through rational factors, but also about emotional factors. Usually in our industry, we know that price talks out loud, and we understand price is important, but it's not the only factor that consumers or customers take into consideration when they decide to buy a product. You can take yourself as an example. Like when you are dealing with some business between you and your suppliers, of course, you are looking for good prices, but you are also interested to know if you have a good sales account manager, if they are going to answer your calls when you need to talk to them, because you don't want to make that cheap products becoming a nightmare in your life. So yes, it counts, and yes, it is important. What social media has with all of this? Social media is an extremely important tool to support this purchase decision process. I brought some numbers here for you, very recent data. So let's start saying that global social commerce revenue reached $22 billion in 2019. Social commerce, please understand that is all purchase made on social media channels. You know, when you are on Facebook or Instagram and there is an advertisement with a link, and then this link will drive you to a page where you can buy the product or service. This is social commerce. And all of those clicks on those advertising brought to this industry $22 billion. Also, 78% of consumers says that company social media posts impact on their purchase. 31% of consumers says that they are using social media channels to browse for new items to purchase. And 71% are more likely to make a purchase based on social media referrals. So yes, social media matters. And yes, social media has a great connection with brand management and the decision making purchase processes. Okay, we know it matters, but now what to do? As I mentioned, there are so many channels. I am going to highlight the top four. So just to bring you some ideas of the difference between these big social media channels here. Let's start with Facebook. It's the biggest one. So Facebook has more than 2 billion active users every month. Can you imagine it? 2 billion people using Facebook every month. Almost everybody is there. If you have a social media account or a profile, probably you are on Facebook. Usually, if you are on Instagram or on Twitter, for sure you are on Facebook, and the opposite not necessarily is the same. The best entry point, of course, is a very good tool for targeting your audience. So Facebook, because they are the oldest one right now, and they have so many users, they have the best tools for targeting your audience. Calls on Facebook, everybody's there. So what is pro is also cons, because with so many people there and so many companies with a profile on Facebook, it gets more difficult to be seen. It means that if you are going to use Facebook for business, you probably will need to invest more money to be seen on this channel. The other one is Twitter. Twitter is fast, so good for snackable content and also for sparkling live conversation. Works very well as customer service because usually customers share their experience with brands on Twitter. This is great. Cons on Twitter, you need to be fast. If you are not fast, if you don't answer your audience as faster as they expect, they are going to complain about you on the same platform. On average, the answer time on Twitter, it's between 2 and 4 hours. So if you receive a comment or a post from a customer and you are going to answer only next day or after 2 days, you probably will be in trouble because they are going to start to complain about you. If you can't be faster enough, if you don't have someone to be dedicated, or if you don't have time to manage your account on Twitter, don't open your profile there. Instagram is the most promising of every social media channel nowadays. There is no channel growing faster than Instagram. Extremely visual. Um, it's a good way to add value to your followers' feeds and attract interested leads. Instagram is a very lead generation platform. What is important to be aware on Instagram? Your Images must be relevant and interesting to your audience. People on Instagram are visual, so images need to share some messages. I'm not saying that the images must be beautiful, but they need to be relevant. They need to be interesting. So pay attention on what kind of images you are sharing on this platform. And finally, LinkedIn, all about work. So they say that is the most serious platform. Um, Very interesting to share professional experiences, technical information. On LinkedIn, there is a very qualified audience. So in comparison with all others, LinkedIn has the most qualified audience. What you need to pay attention there? Relevance. Your content must be relevant to your qualified audience. So jokes are not welcome on LinkedIn. Superficial topics are not welcome there. Self-promotion, not welcome at all. So it's very interesting to be aware on how it works, and you can adapt yourself, your profile to the channel. You can be everywhere. You can choose all of these 4 channels to create your profile, or you can choose only one. It will all depend of your time and how many people, or if you have someone who can be dedicated to social media management. There is no right or wrong here. What really matters when you are managing social media for your business is consistency. This is the key for the success on your social media management. And what do I mean with consistency? There is a very common mistake organizations usually made when they open the channel. There is a large excitement, right? So everybody's happy to be there and they want to explore their profile and be seen, and they have a lot of content to share. So usually companies start sharing like 4 posts a day, every day, even on the weekends for the first month. From the second month, they move for 1 post a week or 1 post a day in a good scenario. After 3 months, they are with 2 posts a week, sorry, 2 posts a month. It doesn't work. So please control your anxiety. If you just opened your social media channel, remember and ask yourself if you are going to be able to keep the same frequency of posts and content generation in a long or a mid or long term strategy. If you feel that you will not be able to post 4 posts every day, no problem. Make 1 post per day or 1 post every 2 days, but be consistency, be consistent and keep your frequency in a flat line. It's important. Another thing that is important on social media, identify your brand voice. Again, another connection with brand. We started talking about that. Why this is important? Because your brand has an identity, remember? And you need to share this identity on your social media as well. So let's suppose that on Twitter you have an account and there your profile is super funny. So entertainment is your strategy. You tell jokes all the time. Your approach is extremely informal and you are a funny guy or a funny company on Twitter. But on Facebook, you are so serious. You have an approach like, oh no, I want to be an inspirational company. I'm going to use a delightful message, but more formal because I have a completely different purpose here. You are going to make your brand a bipolar brand, and it doesn't work for the consumer identification. So I'm not telling you to be neutral because this identity and personality is important, but make sure that you are respecting your brand personality or your brand voice on your communication through social media. So We know that brands, the importance of brands. We understand the relevance for social media on the purchase decision, and we also understand the difference between channels. And from now on, I was thinking about sharing with you some examples. When I was preparing this presentation, I thought about several social media cases that we have across over the world. Probably you have your favorite brand on social media, either because it's an inspiring brand or because they get your attention for the beauty of their content and images or videos or whatever. But I decided that to bring to you examples from our industry. There are so many people in our industry doing a good job on social media, and I guess they can inspire you better than these big cases that we kind of already know, right? So I selected here some good practices in HVAC industry and things that are good to do when you are managing your social media channels, your social media profiles. First example here is highlighting your services and your workers. So this is a contractor sharing a picture of his installation, and he is highlighting or promoting the installers. This is very welcome on social media. Recognize what your workers or your team is doing. Nobody works alone, right? So a company usually is a company usually represents the whole team effort. So it's good to bring it here to a social media environment. This is a Facebook post. Another interesting thing to do on social media is work with your partners. So this is an example of a contractor. He shared a very relevant company from his business on our Bosch accredited Bosch contractors group. With that, he is promoting himself or promoting his content. Probably he shared exactly the same thing on his page, but he is increasing his audience or the reach of this content when he uses a bigger platform or a bigger account to promote his message. It's welcome as well. Another good practice is let your customers promoting your job. So this is another example for a contractor. Probably he opened on Facebook reviews, and he's using his customer reviews as a post on his account as well. Very positive because we don't have here all clear plumbing telling how good they are, but they have their customers saying it. So brings credibility to their brand and to their account. More good practice. Use humor to create identification. Good humor is always welcome. These guys here were extremely smart. This is a Instagram post. They are using the current situation, so everybody needs to wear masks, to make it interesting or kind of a funny comparison of a very common thing, common situation in the field. Okay, you need to wear masks, but you forget to change your furnace filters. And based on the replies, you can see that it brings some identification to the situation. Contractors understood what he said here. Another good practice is use relevant content to promote your business. So here we have a LinkedIn post. So Platsky is a Bosch sales rep. They shared what we posted about boilers. It's a video, so relevant content for their business, and made themselves available. This is interesting because on LinkedIn, you don't need to create everything from the scratch. I guess in any channel, but on LinkedIn, it's more common. If you have partners or suppliers pre-generating relevant content, you can easily share it. And as Platsky did here, make yourself available if someone wants more information or have a project related to boilers in this case, just talk to them. It's not self-promotion. It's a kind of a connection with the business. Very welcome on LinkedIn as well. And finally, add commemorative dates on your calendar. So on last week, it was a Hug a Plumber Day. This day exists, you can Google it. And then the Mechanical Hub, one of the magazines in our industry, celebrated this day. There are so many holidays or commemorative days that you can add in your calendar and promote it on your account. So all of those examples are in single channels or single posts. Just to close this best good practice here, I would like to give you an example about how to use the same content on different platforms. So here it's a post from Bosch. So we had this post to celebrate the Earth Day. This guy, this little cute guy here is one of our associates' son. And then we use this picture to talk about the importance of the environment and celebrate the Earth Day. If you notice, we have 3 posts here, one on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. The message is basically the same. We have very small changes on the language and also on hashtags. For example, Instagram requires more hashtags than Facebook. We don't need to put so many hashtags on there, but on Instagram, for sure, they are welcome. On LinkedIn, we tagged the father, like because they shared the picture with us, and then we are recognizing him on LinkedIn. So it slightly changes, creating consistency and connection between the 3 channels. So we have the good practices now. The only thing that we are missing here is how to measure all of these things. There are so many tools and so many ways to measure your performance on social media. You can go from the basic one, engagement, how many people like your post, how many people comment, how many times your posts were shared, how many people clicked on your link in case you have a link. This is extremely relevant, but you also can go further and measure the referrals, the conversion rates, the response rate time. To start managing your channels, I guess the basics are more than enough. So if you pay attention on the post reach, impressions, total engagement, and engagement per post, you are going to have a great analytics report for your account. And usually the tools, each channel, they have their analytics tools. Like here is one example from a Bosch Instagram profile. And then all of these insights we got from Instagram. So once you open your business profile, you're going to have access to all of this. Why it is important, especially if you are investing money to promote your page, you can track what worked and what didn't work. And even if you are not investing money, based on the impressions and reach, the engagement level, overall engagement level, you will know what is working and what is not working on your channel. And there is no rule for that. Maybe what works for us at Bosch not necessarily is going to work to your business because there is an expectation from each follower, and usually these expectations are created based on your brand identity. Brand has a personality, and if I follow you, I am going to pay attention on your personality. I am not going to compare your page with another's page. We have an online specialist in our team, Aaron Cronin, and he brought here to us some social media management tools, very cheap. Some of them are actually free, where you can maybe try to use. What is the biggest advantage of these tools? You can measure all of your channels together instead of having separated or individual analysis. You can put all of them in a same report. Um, We don't have a preference here. My recommendation is try all four. There are much more. This is just our recommendation, and use the one you feel more comfortable, you think it's easier to manage. Another great tool that these softwares here offer is the possibility to schedule your posts. So for example, you have a regular work Monday to Friday, but you would like to have a post to celebrate Mother's Day. You can schedule this post, you can make the post and put it on your calendar, and then these tools are going to post automatically to you on Sunday. This can be very helpful for your social media manager, and also to make sure that you're going to keep the frequency of posts when needed. To finalize here, we have some bonus tips for your strategy. The first one is define your targets. This is extremely important. All of the channels, they have great filters to select your targets and define your audience. The more specific you can be, the more you will succeed. On Facebook and Instagram, for example, you can select your audience by city, gender, age, interest, and this is great. Imagine, for example, if I am a contractor and I have my contractor business here in Greater Boston area, and I am going to promote a post on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. I don't have any reason to have a national reach. I don't want to be seen by someone who is in Texas, for example, because I will not be able to provide services there. So the more specific I can be, the more I will succeed. Usually investment, you don't need to invest a lot of money. You can start with, for example, $30 a week, like $5 a day, and you're gonna see good results, especially if you have a good target definition. Be human. Don't make your followers feel they are following a robot. So interact with your audience, uh, have a nice approach, I mean, a kind of emotional connection. You can do it based on your content and also based on your uh, answers. You know, the, the more you interact with your audience, the more human you're gonna be. Use the data. So all of these analytics reports is important because it's the best way to improve your performance and to track the success of your posts and also to review your strategy. So don't be afraid, check the reports. They always bring important information for you. Stay consistent. We talked a lot about consistency today. This is extremely important. I guess it's clear. Content is king. Content is everything, guys. It's extremely important. Understand the message. What do you want to share? How do you want to be seen? Dedicate some time to develop a good content. The best way to define if your content is good or not, actually, sorry, at least the best way to start this definition is put yourself in a consumer place. Like read your content and ask yourself, if I were a consumer, so if I were my own follower, would I like what I am writing here? Would I like to see this picture or this post? Try to think as a consumer, try to think as a follower. This is a very good way to start your content management. Use hashtags, another bonus tip, especially on Instagram. The biggest benefit on hashtags is that you reach out to specific communities. In our industry, these communities are important because we have a specific topic, and it's also a good way to filter your audience. You go straight to the point. You can gain more followers if you are using the right hashtags. And last, try to create series. Here at Bosch, we have 3 series: Motivation Monday, Tech Tuesday, and ABC of the Week every Friday. And based on our reports, Monday, Tuesday, and Friday are the days of the week where we have biggest engagement. If you can do the same, if you can create series generating this movement, you will start creating some expectations from your followers, and it's positive for your brand. That's it. I hope you guys liked. We learned a lot of things today, right? Like brand relevance. We also learned about the consumer decision-making process, how social media impacts on purchase decisions, differences between the main social media channels, good practices in HVAC industry, and what to measure on social media. I hope you liked, and I am counting down to see your channels or your profile on the social media channels. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm going to open for questions now.